Addition and subtraction of radical expressions. In this video, I am going to show to you how to add and subtract different radical expressions. So stay tuned from start to finish because we will be discussing basic to complex problems. Okay, so for example, our problem here will be 9 square root of 2 plus 3 square root of 2. In this problem, we can add directly the radicals because the radicand, or the number or expressions inside the radical symbol, they are the same. So once the radicands are the same, we can add them directly. So to add this, we will just combine the numbers outside the radical symbols. So we will just combine 9 plus 3, and then we will copy the radical sign together with the radicand, which is 2. So our final answer here will be 9 plus 3, that is 12 square root of 2. Okay. Okay, our next problem, we will have 18 square root of 5 plus 7 square root of 5 minus 9 square root of 5. In this problem, we can see that we have the same radicands, or the numbers or expressions inside the radical symbol. So our radicand here is positive 5. So since they are the same in the three expressions, we can add directly the numbers outside the radical symbol. So what are the numbers outside the radical symbols? We have positive 18 plus 7 minus 9. So combining, we will have 18 plus 7 minus 9. And then we will just copy the radical symbol, that is the square root, and the radicand, which is 5. Okay. So we will have 18 plus 7, that is 25, minus 9, that is positive 16, and just copy square root of 5. So positive 16 square root of 5 is our final answer. Okay, our next problem, we will have 40 and the fourth root of a minus 30 and the square root of b plus 18 and the fourth root of a plus 15 and the square root of b. Now remember that we can only add radicals with the same radicands. Okay, so we can add 40 and the fourth root of a, as well as plus 18 and the fourth root of a. Okay, so we can add this 40 and the fourth root of a plus 18 and the fourth root of a. And we can also add separately negative minus 30 square root of b and positive 15 square root of b. Okay, so combining, we will have here negative 30 square root of b and positive 15 square root of b. So adding, we will have 40 plus 18, that will be 58. 58 fourth root of a. And then we have negative 30 plus 15, that will be negative 15. And then copy the radical, which is square root of b. So therefore, 58 fourth root of a minus 15 square root of b, this is now our final answer. Our next problem, we will have positive 16 square root of xy plus positive 10 square root of ab minus 20 square root of xy minus 9 square root of AB. Okay. So looking at the problem, we can see that we have two types of radicands, or we have two radicands. First is the radicand xy. So we have two here. We have 16 square root of xy and minus 20 square root of xy. So we can combine this directly. Okay, so we can have 16 square root of xy minus 20 square root of xy. And then our next radicand is the square root, or the next radical is the square root of AB. So we have here positive 10 square root of AB and minus 9 square root of AB. So combining, we will have positive 10 square root of AB minus 9 square root of AB. So we will have 16 minus 20. This will give us negative 4. And then just copy the radical and the radicand, square root of xy. And then positive 10 minus 9, we will have plus 1, and copy the radical, which is square root of AB, or we can rewrite this as negative 4 square root of xy plus 1 multiplied by square root of AB. This will give us square root of AB. So negative 4 square root of xy and plus square root of AB is our final answer. Our next problem, we will have 5 square root of L minus 14 square root of M plus 6 square root of N minus 15 square root of L plus 3 square root of M minus 26 square root of N. Okay, so again, remember that we can only combine radicals with the same radicands. Okay, so we have here 3 radicands. So we have L, so 5 square root of L. This is one expression, and we can combine that with negative 15 square root of L. So they have the same radicand, which is L. So our next radicand is M. So we can combine negative 14 square root of M and positive 3 square root of M. Our third radicand is N. So we can combine positive 6 square root of N and negative 26 square root of N. So combining, we will have 5 square root of L minus 15 square root of L, and then minus 14 square root of M plus 3 square root of M, and then we have plus 6 square root of N minus 26 square root of N. So subtracting and adding, we have 5 minus 15, that is negative 10 square root of L, and then negative 14 plus 3, that is negative 11 square root of M, and positive 6 minus 26, that will be negative 20 square root of N. So we cannot combine this anymore. Negative 10 square root of L, negative 11 square root of M, and negative 20 square root of N, they are our final answers. Our next problem, we have square root of 5 over 3 minus the square root of 135. Now, to subtract these radicals, we will first simplify the square root of 5 over 3. Since this is a fractional radicand, okay, so this is what we are going to do. So square root 5 over 3. To simplify this, we are going to multiply this by a fraction. So the numerator and the denominator will be the same as our denominator. So we are going to multiply this by 3 over 3. Okay, so minus the square root of 135. So we will have here the square root of 5 times 3, that is 15. And 3 multiplied by 3, that is positive 9. Minus square root of 135. Okay, so we are not going to touch this first. Now, looking at this fractional radicand, we can rewrite this as the square root of 15. Okay, so we will separate the square root of the numerator all over the square root of the denominator. So square root of 15 divided by the square root of 9 minus. Now, we can now, okay, touch square root of 135. So let us find a number, or let us find the factors of 135, wherein one of the factors will be equal to 15. Okay, so we will divide 135. Let's divide that by 15. Okay, there. So we can have 15 times 9. Okay, so we have the square root of 15 here, and the other factor is 9. Okay, now let's continue. We cannot simplify square root of 15, so this will be square root of 15. But we can simplify square root of 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. So minus. Okay, we cannot simplify square root of 15, but we can simplify the square root of 9. The square root of 9 is 3. And what will be left here will be the square root of 15. Okay, so since square root of 15 is present, okay, since square root of 15 is present on the two expressions, okay, we can simplify this, or we can factor this out. So what we will have here, we will have two expressions, and this will be multiplied by square root of 15. So square root of 15 all over 3 divided by the square root of 15. So what will be left here will be 1 all over 3. So square root of 15 times 1 over 3 is also equal to the square root of 15 all over 3 minus. So 3 square root of 15 divided by square root of 15, what will be left here is 3. So again, square root of 15 multiplied by 3 is equal to 3 times the square root of 15. Okay, so we can simplify 1 over 3 minus 3. This will give us minus 2 and 2/3 square root of 15. Okay, so let us make this as an improper fraction. So this will be negative. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2, that is 8. So this will be negative 8 over 3 times the square root of 15. So negative 8 over 3 multiplied by the square root of 15 is our final answer. Our next problem, we have the square root of 2 over 3 plus the square root of 54. Okay. So to do this, we will first simplify the radicand with the fractional exponent. Okay, so to simplify this, we have square root of 2 over 3. We will multiply this by a fraction. So the numerator would be the same as the denominator here, so that is 3. And the denominator would also be the same as the denominator, so that would also be 3. Plus the square root of 54. So we will not touch square root of 54 first. Okay, so continuing, we will have 2 multiplied by 3, that is positive 6, all over 3 times 3, that's positive 9, plus square root of 54. Now, we can rewrite this, okay? So, we can rewrite this as the separate radicals, okay? So, we can rewrite the numerator as the square root of 6, and the denominator will be the square root of 9, okay? Plus, okay, so we will now touch the square root of 54. The square root of 54, we will find one factor which is equal to 6, okay? So we will have 54 divided by 6, so that will be 9 times 6. So this will be 9 multiplied by 6. And then continuing, we will have the square root of 6 all over the square root of 9. Now the square root of 9 is 3, plus the square root of 9 here, that is also equal to 3. So we can factor that out. And what will be left here will be the square root of 6. And then looking at the two expressions, we can see that the square root of 6 is common between the two terms. So we can factor this out. So factoring, we will separate this. So we will take out square root of 6. So what will be left on the first term will be 1 all over 3. Okay, when you multiply that with 1 over 3 times 1 times the square root of 6, this will be equal to the square root of 6 plus 3. And the second term, what will be left here will only be 3. So when you multiply that, that will be 3 times square root of 6. Okay, so we can now add the 2. So this will give us 3 and 1 over 3 square root of 6. Or this will be 3 times 3, that is 9, plus 1, 10, 10 over 3 square root of 6. So therefore, 10 over 3 times the square root of 6 is our final answer. Next problem, we will have the square root of 1 over 2 plus the square root of 32 minus the square root of 8. Okay, so first we are going to simplify the radicand with the fractional part. Okay, so we will first simplify square root of 1/2. So this will be 1/2, and then we will multiply this by a fraction. The numerator and the denominator would be the same as our denominator. So we are going to multiply 1/2 by 2 over 2 plus square root of 32 minus square root of 8. So later we will touch square root of 32 and square root of 8. Okay, so we will have here this square root 1 times 2, that will be positive 2, all over 2 times 2, that is positive 4, plus the square root of 32 minus the square root of 8. Okay, so we can rewrite square root of 2 over 4 by the square root of 2 all over the square root of 4. Okay, and then we will now touch positive square root of 32 and negative square root of 8. Okay, so plus square root of 32. So we will factor out 32 with two factors wherein one is positive 2. So all we have to do is divide 32 by 2. So 32 divided by 2, this will give us 16. So this will be 16 times 2 minus, again factor out 8 by 2. So 8 divided by 2, this will give us 4 times 2. Okay, So square root of 2, we cannot factor this out, so this will be square root of 2. Square root of 4 is 2. Plus square root of 16, that is 4. And 4 multiplied by 2. Minus square root of 4 is 2 times square root of 2. Okay. Looking at the three expressions, we can see that square root of 2 is common among the three terms, so we can move out square root of 2 from the three terms. So factoring, we will have here, okay, so we will move out square root of 2 from the three terms. So square root of 2 divided by 2 and divided by the square root of 2, what will be left here will be 1/2 plus 4 square root of 2 divided by square root of 2. So what will be left will only be 4 minus 2 square root of 2 divided by square root of 2. What will be left here will be minus 2. So to check, 1/2 times square root of 2, that will be square root of 2 divided by 2. Positive 4 times square root of 2, that will be 4 times square root of 2. Okay. And then we will have negative 2 times square root of 2. So we will have here negative 2 times square root of 2, that will be negative 2 square root of 2. So combining, we will have 1/2 plus 4, that will give us 3, and okay, let's add here. So we will have 1/2 plus 4 minus 2. This will give us 2 and 1/2 square root of 2. Or we will have here 2 times 2, that is 4, plus 1, this will be 5/2 times square root of 2. So 5/2 square root of 2 is our final answer. Next problem, we will have the square root of 48 plus the square root of 3/4. So to solve this, we will not touch square root of 48 first. We will start to simplify square root of 3/4. So we have here 3/4. Multiply this by a fraction wherein the numerator and the denominator would be the same as the denominator here. So this will be multiplied by 4/4. So we have square root of 48 plus the square root of 3 times 4, that is 12/16. Okay. So this will be square root of 48 plus the square root, we can rewrite this as the square root of 12 divided by the square root of 16. Okay. So we will now factor out 48, wherein one of the factors is 12. Okay. So 48 divided by 12, this will give us positive 4. So this will now be the square root of 4 times 12 plus the square root of 12. We cannot simplify this. All over square root of 16, that is 4. So square root of 4 is 2 times the square root of 12 plus the square root of 12 all over 4. Now, since square root of 12 is common between the two terms, we have here square root of 12 and we also have here square root of 12, we can factor that out. So factoring, we will have, okay, so square root of 2, or rather square root of 12, will be on the outside. So what will be left here will only be 2 plus what will be left here will be 1/4. So to check, we have 2 times square root of 12, that will be 2 square root of 12, and 1/4 times square root of 12, that will be square root of 12 all over 4. So we will have here 2 plus 1/4, that is 2, and 1/4 square root of 12, or 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1, that is 9/4 square root of 12. So therefore 9/4 square root of 12 is our final answer. Our next problem, we will have the square root of 200 minus the square root of 1/8. So to solve this, we have square root of 200 minus square root of 1/8. We will multiply this by a fraction wherein the numerator and the denominator would be the same as our denominator here. So we are going to multiply this by 8/8. So we have the square root of 200 minus the square root of 1 times 8, that is 8, all over 8 times 8, that is 64. So we will have here the square root of 200 minus, we can rewrite this, we can rewrite it as square root of 8 all over the square root of 64. Okay, so we can factor out 200 wherein one of the factor is 8. So 200 divided by 8, that will give us 25 times 8. So this will be the square root of, so this will be the square root of 25 times 8 minus square root of 8. We cannot simplify that, so this will be square root of 8 all over square root of 64, that is positive 8. And then square root of 25, that is 5. So what will be left will be the square root of 8 minus the square root of 8 all over 8. So we can see on the two terms that square root of 8 is common among them. So we have here square root of 8, and we also have here square root of 8. We can factor this out. So to factor out, we will move out square root of 8. So what will be left here will only be 5 minus, okay, what will be left here will only be 1/8. So to check, we have 5 times square root of 8, that will be 5 square root of 8, minus 1/8 times square root of 8, that will be square root of 8 divided by 8. Okay, so we have 5 minus 1/8. This will give us 4 and 7/8 square root of 8, or this will give us 8 times 4, that will be 32, and 32 plus 7, that will be 39. So this will be 39 all over 8 times square root of 8. So 39/8 times square root of 8 is our final answer.